Okay, guys, it's the week before the Super Bowl, and we've got Vegas Runner with us to talk about, well, let's start by talking about your future bets, because perfection, maybe that's the word we
Doesn't
should
get
use.
better than that.
All right, so tell us what's
And
going
I'm not
on.
a cocky guy.
Well, we'll
Not arrogant either.
We'll let America decide that.
On the arrogance. But truth of the matter is, this will be the third straight year that I gave out the Super Bowl winner, either before the season started, or after the first week.
Okay, now, that sounds like a story I hear in a bar. How can we be sure of this?
Look, go back through the pregame pages. It's documented.
So
Last year, we did it on video.
Okay.
Year before, it was written on a blog. So
Okay.
It's out there, dated, documented.
And plus, pregame.com is impeccable, trustworthy.
Yeah, that's for sure, especially if I make a mistake.
There you go. Everyone's watching. All right, so in the two prior years, you had futures.
2 years ago, it was the Steelers at a nice price. I think it was like still 15-1, if I'm not mistaken. Last year, as we know, was the Saints.
All right, now this year, though, you actually, we're talking before the Super Bowl.
Correct.
And you've got both of
Green Bay in the NFC and the Steelers in the AFC. What I usually do, RJ, is this. I pick the side that I really think has a shot to win the Super Bowl. And then I look for a long shot that I'm going to try to earn with. Meaning, I think this team isn't capable of winning the Super Bowl, but they are capable of either winning their division or hosting a home game. Meaning, they will be a listed favorite come playoff time, and I could easily hedge against them by betting the dog. But I look for more long shots there, 20 to 1 and higher.
If you can find a long shot that's going to get a home game, you're doing well anyway.
Yeah, and this year what happened, going in, I had it circled, man. I wasn't going to change my mind, Steelers and Green Bay. Even going into that final couple weeks, you started hearing, Green Bay's the media darling. Everyone's picking Green Bay. I wasn't going to let that.
Where they were like 18-1, and then I think they got down to about 10-1.
Exactly. And I said, I'm not going to let that sway me. But what I learned about NFL futures is this. They don't adjust the prices on them until at least week 3 or 4, unless there's a huge injury.
Now you see an adjustment and trending of the prices preseason.
Correct. But I'm saying from when the season kicks off, week 1, when they kick off, you won't see an adjustment made on prices until at least week 4.
Any major adjustment?
Unless Tom Brady goes down, then obviously New England's chances of winning the Super Bowl will be affected. But what I'm saying is if a team's 2-2, they're not automatically going to go from 25-1 to 50-1.
All right, so what you're saying is then waiting till that third or fourth week offers you value?
A lot of times, if you look at your team's schedule, this is what I learned. If your team that you're looking to back has the toughest part of their schedule early on, I'd rather take the wait-and-see approach, hoping that they're 1-3 after week 4.
Especially if they still look good.
Exactly.
But hold on a second. What you're saying, and again, that's the beauty of what we do here. We talk it out.
Sure.
We are, it's collective IQ together. If someone's 1-3 and they're not adjusting the price,
no, that's when you start seeing an adjustment.
Okay, so
that's when you start seeing the adjustment.
So you're saying is they don't adjust a ton, and thus you can see some stuff that tells you were you right or wrong about thinking this was a good bet, and get it at pretty much the same price.
And the reason I say week 4 is because I think that's just, especially in the sports books here, it's in all their minds. It's like in their subconscious. Everyone talks about it to this day when the St. Louis Rams won that Super Bowl, that they were 4-0 and they were still listed at 100-1 or higher at so many sports books here in Vegas. And now that's even gotten to my mind where I say, okay, up to week 4 you have. After that, they're looking to change things
and plus
and
week
adjust.
4 is the quarter point of the season with 16 games, and you get a lot of first 4 game reviews as in, okay, who's overperformed. People seem to think about the season as a whole more after 4 weeks than after 3.
Correct.
Because it's the quarter pole or whatever you want to call it.
Going into this year, I already knew I had Pittsburgh in the AFC. Nothing was going to change my mind, and Green Bay in the NFC. But what happened was week 1, starting running back Grant for Green Bay goes down. You lose your starting running back, you need a running back in the playoffs. We all know that. You need a running back to win the Super Bowl. The supposedly running game defense wins big games. I started worrying a little about Green Bay. They were going to be the best bet of the year in the NFC, and the backup plan was the Giants, the long shot. I thought the Giants could sneak in, win the NFC East. I thought, Washington would have a down year, Dallas would have a down year, and they would just have to battle the Eagles. Didn't work out for them. But to make a long story short, so I put them up there with Green Bay, Giants and Green Bay in the NFC. Where with the AFC, it was just the Steelers, and then threw a couple units on another long shot like I do.
Okay, so let's recap and then move on and talk about this year. And for those who followed you, now you released both of these teams for free, right?
Yes. Every year I give out the Super Bowl futures for free.
Well, next year people should be listening.
It'll be 4. We're going for 4. For 4. Because 3's in the bag.
Well, yeah. This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you can wait to week 2 or 3, and if you see subtle changes or subtle factors in a team, you can take advantage of those without having to be too scared of a big move in the price.
Correct.
But occasionally you can find a team that looks bad. There'll be an extreme adjustment because of how bad they look 1 and 3, for example, but you still think, wow, this is deceiving, and you can take a flyer on a long shot.
Correct. And on the flip side, you might like a team a lot and see that their first 4 games is the easiest, softest part of their schedule. You want to get down on this team ASAP, because if they come out against 4-0 and on top of their division and the second place team is 2-2, 1 and 3, all of a sudden you will get an adjustment.
So in a way, when you're deciding when to play a future, if you like a team, you're more or less handicapping their first couple games to say, is there anything likely to be deceiving? If it's going to be deceiving in the positive, you want to bet early because, let's say, 4 easy games to start. If it's going to be deceiving in the negative, hey, a couple of tough games, road games, you want to wait and let the price get adjusted.
Correct. And guys like me that are more numbers guys, more market, kind of guys, I think we definitely approach it that way, and we've talked about it with normal sport, with normal games, not just futures. Like me and you have talked about that.
You mean from the time the early line is released?
Yeah, and how it's such a key factor in being a winning sports bettor is knowing when to place your bet, as much as what team to take, knowing when to get that half point, that point makes a difference over time. And I think with futures, it adds up as well. Okay,
so quickly, for those who followed you with both bets, what is your right now, and I'm sure you'll do a forum post on this, but give us the general concept of how, if any way, you're going to hedge or what you're going to do.
Okay, bottom line right now, there's 60 units pending on the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they win the Super Bowl, that's what that future ticket will cash. 16 units if Green Bay wins. That's what it'll
16
cash.
Versus 60.
Exactly. So I mean, black and yellow right now for the future bet is what I'm chanting. With that said, I've made this a big point in my Morning Moves newsletter. I say this over and over because I always try to push all my subscribers to do a little more than just straight bet, to try to use the market to their advantage. Try to hit some middles. Try to play some scalps. It's free money, more or less. Don't be lazy. Get out there and do it. And I always push them to look at the futures market. But on top of that, I tell them you have to be able to separate bankrolls when you're diversifying. You can't allow your futures to play too much of an impact in your daily work.
Okay, so that's something that I think that the theoretical guys in this business do poorly, which is they talk about theory and bankroll, Kelly criterion, this percentage, that percentage. A vast majority of bettors don't think like that. They don't have money set aside. They might have some money offshore. Sure. They've got a local that they're paying each week or collecting each week. They also realize if they lose, they can take a couple hundred from the savings or from their next check. So I think anytime you talk about bankrolls, you lose me because I know how most people bet. But what I think I hear you saying in a more general sense is don't let your non-straight bets dominate the end result of how you're going to do.
Exactly. And I mean, you have to not let.
So how many units did you put on Pittsburgh?
4.
All right, so you put 3 on just a normal game,
big
right?
Bet, yeah.
All right. So what you're saying is, as much as this future has a chance of paying off 60 with the Steelers, like you said, is what I'm hearing you say is if you really like a future, bet it about as much as you bet a game you really like on week 1 of Sunday.
Exactly. It's just another position. I mean, you can't look at it as anything more than that. And you got to be willing to take that position and put it to the side and revisit it when it's either time to earn based on that position, or cash or trash the ticket.
All right, so you got 60-some units on Pittsburgh. How many again on Green Bay?
16 on Green Bay.
Now, or in theory, especially the guys that love to always say, well, I always want to profit, or I always want to, have the same profit no matter what, you would put some money right now on Green Bay,
Sure.
figuring, okay, if Green Bay wins, I'm winning the 16 plus whatever I bet on them. And if you wanted an equal kind of deal, you would put enough to get up to about 30 units. Now, are you doing that?
That's the only time, now that find myself in this position, that I will allow my handicapping, my decision come game day. Not the day of the game. I'll make my decision leading up to the Super Bowl. I haven't, as of today, decided which side I'm going to jump on, to be honest with you.
Plus the line, a lot of chance for line moves.
Exactly, but when that decision finally comes, it will influence what I do with that future. I'm not going to lie to you. If I love Green Bay that day,
but it doesn't influence who you like. And I think,
no.
So what I'm saying is, let's say you handicap the game, and you love Pittsburgh. At the end, whatever the line ends up being, you say, I love
Correct.
Pittsburgh. Then, to me, the only time you hedge, and this is the people ask me about hedging all the time, and my advice is simple. It's only hedge in two scenarios. If you think the second bet that you make has a positive expectation, let's talk about that real quick. So that means, for example, if you would be betting Green Bay anyway,
regardless,
bet them now. Yeah, why not? Because you have two benefits. You think you got a positive play, and you're hedging, so you're assuring yourself some profits. The other time I say hedge is if the amount of money is life-changing.
It's significant,
yeah. So if I have a chance at $40 million or zero, but let's say my Pittsburgh side was $40 million, I'm going to hedge.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to hedge right down the middle no matter what, no matter how much I like the game, because I'm not going to be putting millions on a game. But if you're
But that's what I love, that you tell it like it is. That's reality. Most people, you talk to 90% of cappers, pro cappers, and they're going to tell you what they've heard. And the bottom line is, hedge like a robot, be robotic, don't let emotion come into it. That's what you're, been taught.
What happens is,
but I think you do have to think it through. I mean, every position's different.
But if you're a nickel player and you've got 3 or 4 or 5 dimes to win on Pittsburgh, I wouldn't hedge unless you really think you like Green Bay.
Right.
With the worst thing you can ever do, and it's funny, I listen, we're getting tight on time, so this
Don't
is
give
something.
up equity.
Exactly. The books want you to play negative expectation as much as possible.
I agree.
You got them by the balls with
Don't let
Pittsburgh.
it go. That's what I always write in the news.
So really, come game day, who you like may affect how much you hedge, but it's not going to affect who you like.
Exactly.
All right. Good stuff, VR. Now, we're going to do some other videos with VR. Specifically, we're going to be talking who he does like, at least with the early moves in the Super Bowl. And then we're going to be breaking down a college basketball game for Saturday. Be right back.